Good morning, everybody. It's 8:30. We'll call this morning's meeting of the Clay County Board of Commissioners to order for Tuesday, August 12th. First item is the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'll make approval of the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Citizens to be heard. Do we have any citizens to be heard that's on items not on the agenda? There's none in the audience. Do we have any online?
Do not, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We'll move on then to the approval of bills and vouchers.
Mr. Chair, I'll offer a motion to approve the payment of bills and vouchers.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Our 8:35 item is a request approval to hire a full-time deputy due to resignation. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Thanks for having me here this morning. I am here today to request to fill a vacancy due to a resignation. We had a 13-year employee decided to go into the private practice, so we're very happy for him, but sad for us as he had a lot of knowledge and skills and abilities that's going to be missed. But with that, I'm looking for the approval to hire a full-time deputy to replace him. And as you can see with the wage calculator that was provided in the packet, it's approximately a $21,740 savings to our 2025 budget. And we should see a savings in our 2026 budget as well. I know the chief deputy's been working with Lori to get that in there to reflect that savings. So we'll have a further decrease in our 2026 budget than we had last week.
Yes, Commissioner Ebinger.
And Sheriff, will there be a promotion basically on this? We're backfilling with a deputy position?
Correct, yeah, we'll do a promotion from within and then will be a backfill for a deputy.
Is there a procedure, I don't know the procedure on promotions, you're going to open it up for competitive?
Yeah, correct. We'll open it up to those that I believe it's a 3 to 5 year of experience requirement. So we'll open it up for that for our current staff, and I'm sure we'll get staff that'll put in for that. And then the new hire will be a deputy position.
Do you have any bidding on the list right now?
We're currently taking applications because, as you're aware, I was here a few weeks ago when Deputy Lee resigned. So we are currently taking applications. That closes on the 22nd, and then we'll move forward from there.
Well, it's always fun to get a promotion going and see people move ahead, so good luck on that.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I'll offer a motion to approve the request with a backfill.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. All right, Sheriff, you're ready to roll.
Awesome. Thank you.
Anything else for us this morning?
We had a busy night last night, as you are aware. All of our staff are doing well. We all checked on them. We came in late last night and stayed till early this morning. I think both Chris and I are probably running on 2 hours of sleep. So at some particular point, we're going to go home and try and get a nap in, or another nap in, because last night was a nap as well.
All right, well, thank you for your work.
Thank you.
All right, next we have our budget presentation for Lake Agassiz Regional Library. We have Liz with us this morning. Good morning, Liz.
Good morning. It's nice to see all of you again. I always appreciate this opportunity to come in to talk a little bit about Lake Agassiz Regional Library, to answer any questions that you might have. So I'll just start out by saying that there's never a dull moment at Lake Agassiz Regional Library. In our 13 branch libraries and our 9 link sites in our 7 counties, they're all busier than ever, with customers continuing to check out the physical materials, downloading ebooks, utilizing public computers, using our Wi-Fi, our meeting rooms, working with staff to find accurate information using our printers, blah, blah, blah. I could go on and on and on. We have a lot that we're offering in our Lake Agassiz regional libraries. Right now, we're currently going through a strategic planning process, which we do every 3 to 5 years. And it's very clear from looking at the results of our surveys and from meeting with our community members that people love and value their public libraries, and that they definitely have a deep appreciation for the library staff who run them. Across the region, the first 6 months of the year, we were just shy of checking out 250,000 items across the region. That includes books, DVDs, mobile hotspots, anything physical that you can hold in your hand. While we're checking all of these items out, we're also seeing percentages of double digits of e-book checkouts from year after year. They're so popular, we're just unable to keep up with the demand because they are so popular. The Clay County locations of Holly, Barnesville, and Ulen they continue to be vital and popular community resources. When I was here last year, I think I mentioned that the Ulen link site received a facelift on the exterior of the building, and the Barnesville Public Library had a renovation project. It looks fabulous. I'm sure you've all stopped by to see it by now. If you haven't, maybe go check it out. And then this year, the city of Holly has replaced all of their windows in the library. And I just cannot stress enough how much we appreciate this partnership with the county and the cities maintaining their facilities. It really makes a big difference. Of course, I would be remiss if I didn't also mention the construction of the new Moorhead Public Library. As you know, this is a multi-purpose facility that not only houses the Moorhead Public Library, but it will also include a walking track, an indoor playground for youth, an entrepreneurial center called the Spark Center. There will be many meeting rooms, and it's really going to be a fantastic amenity, not only for the residents of Moorhead, but also those residing in the communities around Moorhead as well. So really all of Clay County. We are really honored to be a part of the new downtown Moorhead revitalization project. And let me tell you, spring of 2026 cannot come soon enough. We are very excited. On a less positive note, libraries are not exempt from executive orders to defund institutions. Right now, across Minnesota and across the nation, library advocates are contacting Congress to save the Institute of Museum and Library Services. We often refer to this as IMLS, and IMLS provides federal funding to states to support libraries in the states. So in Minnesota, if Minnesota loses the IMLS funding, we will see changes in our library services for sure. We most likely will no longer have an interlibrary loan service, which means that you can request, and also a statewide delivery service, which means that you can request materials from anywhere across Minnesota and receive them at Lake Agassiz regional libraries. It also means that the Minnesota Braille and Talking Book Library could be in jeopardy. A lot of the online databases and resources that are used in schools, academic libraries, and public libraries will most likely go away. And so, as I said, the landscape of libraries may look very different in years to come if IMLS is truly defunded. Regarding the Lake Agassiz Regional Library budget, all of you should have a copy of that. The Lake Agassiz Regional Library Board has tried to keep signatory increase requests reasonable and steady over the years. Unfortunately, that's resulted in an environment where frontline staff have not been paid a living wage, and new staff have been very hard to attract. The Lake Agassiz Regional Library Board has been aware that frontline staff have been underpaid for years, and they've been working on increasing wages. During union negotiations in 2024, the board approved substantial increases for the years of 2025, 2026, and 2027. And just to give you an idea of what we're talking about, in 2024, library assistants were hired at $13.17. Our librarians were hired at $16 an hour. The most significant increase in pay to staff occurred this year in 2025, but the board chose to use reserves to fund the 2025 increases to keep the signatory requests low last year or for this year. And looking at 2026, just to give you an idea of what 2026 would look like, the increase would include $15.65 for library assistants and $19.23 for library associates. The increase will significantly help hiring and retaining staff and will improve services across the region. Other than the personnel increases on the Lake Agassiz Regional Library budget, there's not much different from previous years. There is state basic support on the document, I believe you'll see. We are seeing a $70,000 decrease from the state in 2026. This is because of adjusted net tax capacity per capita and the formula that's used to allocate the funds. Lake Agassiz Regional Library really seems to be on that cusp of getting funds or not getting funds. It's pretty volatile, really. But other than the state library or state funding and then the personnel costs, there aren't very many differences. Does anyone have any questions about services or about the budget?
I have a couple questions, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Bear.
How many employees do you guys have?
We have about 80 employees on the payroll, but most are not full-time.
How many would be full-time?
I should have that number for you, but I don't. I could get back to you with that, though.
And then, how much do you have sitting in reserves?
Oh, boy. We have, we do have the again, I can get back to you with that.
All right. Those are my two questions,
Okay.
Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Ebinger.
Mr. Chair, not a question, but just some observations on this. Since I'm the chair of the library board this term, and we put a lot of work into it. One of the primary drivers we've got, as Liz indicated, is bringing salaries up. And it was very much the process that we had here in needing to keep our salaries competitive with other entities, not necessarily libraries, simply to keep the staff coming in and to retain the staff we had. And as you can see, with the 6% increase, that's one of the leading variables that we've got that causes the signatory cost to go up. But it's a pretty lean operation, and there's not a lot of waste in it. I don't see any, actually. I think there's some things that we could, we would like to have that we're not going after right now, just to keep the costs down. And in this time where you're looking at cuts from the federal and through the state, it's important that the signatories are supportive of the requests that are made here.
Do we have a schedule of when the Moorhead Library will move into its new?
We're told spring of 2026. It may be March, but we will see as the time approaches.
And as far as how does that impact your budget?
We're currently in negotiations with the city of Moorhead for a lease agreement for the headquarters of Lake Agassiz Regional Library. We're hoping to be co-located with the Moorhead Public Library in that facility. And there is an increase to rent. It does double our rent. We had been paying next to nothing for rent, though, and for the past 62 years. But it will,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead.
So the rent, we're in negotiations, so I can't, yeah,
So the rent you're talking about, is that
for the
your-
headquarters.
For the headquarters?
Yeah.
The library itself, there's no rent being
No,
paid on that?
no,
Okay.
no,
I would-
that's the city's responsibility, yeah.
Well, and I would hope that that's what the sales tax was for, was to pay for that. So, but have you incorporated some money in, and I don't see rent as a line item here, but
Yep. Rent,
is it just in your other expenses, or?
yes, it is, under other expenses.
Okay. Okay.
Would it be under operating expenditures or?
It's under the, other, yes, other operating expenses.
And for your headquarters, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
What kind of square footage do you require for your headquarters?
Just under 4,000 square feet. Yep, we have about 12 employees in our headquarters.
That was my question.
Yep.
And that's a considerable drop back from how much do you have right now in the old
Closer
building?
to, maybe 5.5, or, yeah.
But again, the effort's been to be as economically conservative as we can on this.
Yes, Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you. I just want to take an opportunity. I have visited the satellite sites with my kiddos, and I
yeah.
just think that having that presence throughout all of our communities is really important, and it's a valued resource, particularly for folks that might have some mobility issues. To have that as a local option is really important. I'll also say with that, those local cities see the value of having Lake Agassiz regionally in the county as well, and so would, hopefully you can find resolution with, the future space, but, budgets are really tricky right now as well, and so I encourage you, if you reach an impasse, to work with some of our other cities as well, possibly.
Great, thanks.
I think public libraries are one of those things that they just go on and on and on, and you don't hear a lot about them from our standpoint anyway, other than the fact that we have a member of our commission on your board of directors, and but I think when we do hear something about it is when there's jeopardy involved in a reduction in libraries. That's when we do hear about it. So.
Sure. The other day, somebody said, I think that libraries are really making a comeback. And I was like, they never went away. They're as popular as they ever have been.
Well, I know when I drive by the Moorhead Library, that parking lot is full all the time.
Yeah. When I visit some of the local, or the libraries across the region, I wonder, have the library staff paid people to come in to stage this? Because they're so busy every time I go in. It's really great to see.
I might ask one other question.
My wife is a regular Tuesday nights in Ullin, so.
Oh, awesome. I love to hear it. Yeah, that's great.
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner.
Can I, so understanding this is the regional as a whole budget, but, we heard a lot about the savings that would be incurred in moving the library. Are any of those savings realized in the budget presented, or is that kind of a hard number to articulate before you move in?
Yeah, regarding savings, are you referring to like facility costs?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I get that Moorhead pays for it, but
Yeah.
I think regionally you'd share in part of that, and so, is there a line item in which we've been able to?
No, not really, because truly the cities are all responsible for all of those facility needs and upkeep and HVAC systems and paying the heating bills and, all of that. So that is separate from.
It doesn't show up in your budget, it shows
No.
up in the city budget.
Yep,
Okay,
yeah.
good question, thank you. Anything else? Well, Liz, do you have more you want to go through?
No, just thank you for your long-term commitment to Lake Agassiz Regional Library. We appreciate it.
Very good. Thank you, Liz.
Thanks.
Next, we have a budget presentation from Lake Agassiz, Lakes and Prairies Community Action, I'm sorry.
Lots of lakes. Lots of lakes.
Yeah. I look at my, and all I see is. Good morning, Lori.
Good morning. This is on, okay, good. I usually start talking and it's not on. Well, good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for having us this morning and giving me the opportunity before Robin gets going, talking about our Clay Seniors Program, but just giving me the opportunity to give you a brief overview of your Community Action Agency. So for those that don't know, my name is Lori Schwartz. I'm the Executive Director for Lakes and Prairies Community Action, otherwise known as CAPLP, main office here in Moorhead. We have one office at the Family Service Center, and then we have our admin office located in South Moorhead. We are one of 1,000 CAP agencies in the nation and one of 24 in the state of Minnesota. In the packet that you have in front of you, you have various pieces of information, but I just wanted to touch on a couple of those. One is just the executive summary of our community assessment. To see the full community assessment, you can go to our website. Under the Community Services Block Grant, which is unique and specific to community action agencies, we are mandated to do a community assessment, a very thorough community assessment every 3 years. And so we just conducted this last spring, and then of course things change quickly, so we update that annually. I guess, and probably no surprise to you either, but our top 4 needs, again, are quality, affordable childcare, living wage jobs, and affordable housing and transportation. Those are probably the same needs that we have seen for the past 10 years in Clay and Wilkin counties. We use the data from the community assessment to plan and design programs and services to do our best to meet the needs in Clay and Wilkin counties. The trends have also shown us that the population in Clay County has steadily increased with an overall 10% increase, and especially in Moorhead, which has been identified as the fastest growing city outside the metro area. I'm sure things that you already know, but population is decreasing in rural Clay and Wilkin counties. The poverty rates are decreasing statewide, but in our area, there is an increase, and that does include child poverty rates. Up on the screen, and you also have it in your packet, that's just a one-page summary of our 2024 annual report. There is a copy that Sarah passed around this morning of our full annual report. It's also on our website. As you'll see, we've grown significantly since 2016. We've went from about 80 team members to 135 team members. Our annual budget was around $9 million, and we're up to close to $13 million. We have 4 main divisions under our CAPLP umbrella, and that is we have a Head Start program. We serve about 233 children. We have an early Head Start program, which we serve pregnant moms up until 3 years of age, and we go into the home. That's a home-based program. And then we have classroom. We have 3 to 5-year-olds come to Head Start classrooms. We have Child Care Connections. That is kind of unique to community action agencies. Some of them in Minnesota do host child care aware programs. Our Child Care Connections program, though, is very unique in that we serve the whole state of North Dakota. and 24 counties in Minnesota. Our housing division has grown significantly in the past 15 years. And then we have economic empowerment, and that is the division that Robin is the director of. Economic empowerment is a division that houses so many of our self-sufficiency programs such as Career Connect, Flourishing Families, homebuyer education and counseling, financial literacy, VITA tax site. That's where our refugee resettlement program lives. All of these programs are unique, and all of them provide a comprehensive approach to really get people on their feet and get them out of poverty. That is what Community Action was created for 61 years ago. You do have a birthday or anniversary invitation to join CAPLP next Thursday for our birthday party, because we are 60 years old next Thursday. But Community Action was always meant to give a hand up, not a handout. I mentioned the Community Services Block Grant that is specifically designed for community action agencies. We are very lucky in Minnesota. We have something called the Minnesota Community Action Grant. Those are 2 pots of money that are unrestricted funds for us. We know we're fortunate that we're heavily federal funded, state funded. We have some local funding, which we are so grateful for. But that funding is often very strict, very prescribed. We're heavily monitored, which we're just fine with. We know we get millions of dollars. We want to be able to show the proof in what we're doing. But we have to follow the rules and exactly what they want us to do. But with CSBG and the MCAG dollars, Minnesota Community Action Grant dollars, that allows us to have local control and allows us to start programs and initiate services that can really meet the local needs of what we see as the highest needs in our community. For example, living wage jobs. You'll see something highlighted on the one-pager up there, our Career Connect program, which started 7 years ago, and it's in partnership with our local United Way and Moorhead Tech, where we worked very closely with them to create certification programs for the folks that we serve, where it's unrealistic that they're going to make it through a year-long course or 2-year course or maybe even a 6-month course, but they condensed like a CDL program or a welding program, CNA program into a 6 to 8 weeks course where they could become certified, and if they meet all the requirements, pass the course along, working alongside of our coaches in Career Connect, they come out of there and they often will get a living wage job. And that has proven to be very, very successful. We've been able to sustain that with some of our CSBG dollars. We also use the unrestricted dollars to fill in the gaps. I know we've talked about that here before, with underfunded programs and services that are so needed in our counties, in Clay and Wilkin counties. That includes housing programs. We use some of that, I know we've said in the past, for our seniors programs. And I just really wanted to talk and emphasize CSBG. Right now it is slated to be eliminated. But we do feel at this point, we're feeling very good about the fact that it has always had, and it does right now, have very strong bipartisan support. So fingers crossed, we feel like it may be okay. But we have always appreciated our elected official support. We have a tripartite board that some of you know. Our board is made up of our consumers, those we serve. It's made up of private sector, and it's made up of elected officials. And that is by design. That is under the CSBG Act, because it takes all three parties to make good decisions and to make things work within the communities that we serve. So we always have appreciated you and the rest of our elected officials. So we thank you for listening to us today, and I'm going to pass this over to Robin, unless you have questions.
Questions? All right. Good morning, Robin.
Good morning. I'm Robin Christensen. I'm the Economic Empowerment Director at CAPLP. And I have the privilege of overseeing our services that provide programs for older adults or those who are aging in our communities. We have had support, and I appreciate the support from the Commission for quite some time. So just kind of want to talk a little bit about specifically two different programs or two different positions that this helps sustain. One is our aging advocate. This individual works one-on-one with individuals throughout Clay County with a variety of services and programs, various needs. One of the biggest things that they do is administer the NAPS program, or which is the Commodity Federal Supplemental Food Program. They help with applications, and then they also help with recruiting volunteers to deliver 150 to 160 boxes each month. This is done through our Bellesley Boulevard Administration Office. The boxes are brought to us by North Country Food Bank out of East Grand Forks. And then they are tasked with getting those out into the community to help fight that food insecurity. This is probably more important now more than ever because we have heard about cuts that are coming to the SNAP program at the federal level. A lot of times older adults are only eligible for the minimum amount of SNAP dollars each month, and so this kind of helps fill that gap. One other thing that they are helping with a lot is our free tax filing. Lori alluded to that. During the tax season, we help with federal and state filing for free for individuals who are income eligible. This was especially important this year because they made some changes to the renter's rebate. So individuals who rent in Minnesota are able to qualify for a refund on that rent that they pay based on how much income they have. This year, instead of doing it on a later date or at a different time, they lumped it in with their state income tax. So it made it a little bit more difficult for people to individually do this on their own. So we did see a large increase of helping people throughout the tax season. And those that are 60 and over, we helped almost 600 so far this year. File that. I guess you could call it unrestricted dollars, is something that they get that one time a year that they have, that ability to maybe pay off a bill or do something that they normally can't do because a lot of times they're on a very strict income. They pay their rent, they pay for their food, and there's very little left over. So that maybe $400, $500, $600 is something that is really critical to that population. And then another thing, besides, helping with application assistance for public programming, technology, things like that, we do have group work camp coming up in 2026. This is something that we do, we try to do it every other year. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on how often I can get a school system or a school district to allow us to use their space for a week. But Barnesville has signed on for 2026. We'll be able to do basic home repairs within 30 miles of Barnesville. So we'll be able to reach a lot of Clay County in that respect and help mainly older adults, but some individuals with disabilities, low-income families who maybe don't have the income to do some basic home repairs, or maybe they just can't physically do it themselves. So things like a wheelchair ramp, fixing stairs, painting the outside of a home, replacing mobile home skirting, things like that. So we'll be recruiting for individuals who are interested in that program starting this fall, and that is free to everybody who would qualify and apply for that. The other piece to our senior services or aging services that I wanted to talk a little bit about was our rural routes transportation system. This bus we've had since 2019, and it has been providing transportation to our target audience is older adults, mainly living in the rural parts of the community and in Clay County, and then bringing them into Fargo-Moorhead for a variety of amenities and services that they might need. New this last year, we started a shuttle bus from Walmart to the Clay County DMV just because public transportation wasn't getting people all the way out there. We haven't seen as much with that as we would like, but we have given rides to individuals who have needed that extra leg up, or, especially in the winter months where they maybe don't want to walk that extra mile or half mile or however long it is. We've continuously sought out more grant funding to help provide this service. Again, the request that we ask of you doesn't cover the full cost of operating our program. And like Lori said, some of that unrestricted funding does help cover some of that. There, along with, we do charge a fee to ride our bus, but it is a sliding fee scale and it is income-based, so anywhere from $10 to $25 a ride. So we'll continue to seek out additional funding. I'm waiting on a decision from the Medica Foundation right now, hoping that we can get some extra dollars there. We were also asked to be a partner in, through the Clay County Attorney's Office. They received funding for their Restorative Practices Grant, and we were asked to provide transportation to some of the youth activities that are going to be happening through that with our bus. And so we have signed on to do that and have received a little bit of funding through that partnership as well. We continue to do a lot of marketing and outreach. There's a lot of opportunities to do marketing and outreach for all of our services, so much so that we've created an outreach team at our organization to kind of keep track of all of it. parades, tabling events, things like river arts or the farmers markets and things like that. And so really just trying to get out into the community and helping boost that visibility of all of our services, but transportation in general, having that bus out there and visible. I will say that, our rides are down about 20 to 30% this year, halfway through 2025, not where we want to be, right? And so we've had a lot of conversation and a lot of evaluation internally. We are making some changes staffing-wise. I have a new manager who's on board, who is overseeing both of these positions, has a lot of really great experience in community action with continuous improvement, evaluation, outcomes. And so I'm hopeful that with her guidance and oversight that we will be able to kind of turn this around and hopefully continue to provide this service, because we do know that there are a lot of individuals, particularly older adults in the community, that really need it. One other thing that we have just recently talked to is we are in having some conversations about partnership with Reach and Hawley, and they have talked about how their volunteer driver program that they operate has been seen a large decrease in volunteer drivers, people able to drive other individuals. And so we are hopeful that we may be able to fill that gap and help kind of pick up where they're leaving off with their volunteer driver program in the Hawley area. Anything else that I might have missed, Lori?
I do want to mention on the bus transportation, and I know Commissioner Mojo worked on this too for quite some time, and we really, as a board, are really appreciative of your stepping up on the going from Walmart to the DMV and detox facility. We continue to advocate that should be a normal stop on the bus route and not have to have CAPLP do that work. So thank you for that. It's it certainly is it's beneficial to our citizens. I have a question for you. I noticed on your budget request that your 2026 budget request is the same for the rural routes. And on your aging services it shows what you're asking for, but I don't know how that compares to last year.
That is an increase. I think, I'd have to look back at my letter. I think it's an increase of, I want to say 5% based on a cost of living adjustment that we just did as of July 1st, based on a potential merit. Obviously, we want our individuals, if they have satisfactory performance, to be able to be eligible for a merit increase during their annual review. And then we also saw a slight increase in our dental, and we're anticipating an increase in our health insurance as well. So that 5% kind of covers that.
All right, Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've served on CAPLP for a long, long time, so thank you for the opportunity to allow me to do that. I know that Commissioner Krabenoff is the current chair of the board, and just for folks watching, your name, Community Action Partnership, really should be partnerships because of the constant presence at so many different tables to problem solve, how we leverage mutual resources or separate resources to get folks that help up. And it really is an empowerment piece to provide people the tools to make their lives better. And so, I appreciate and understand that you're sensitive to costs and requests, and we're all trying to figure out the best way to fund things. But if the general public looks at the millions of dollars in your budget and what component of that actually comes from a Clay County levy, it is minimal, so very small. And you and your team have done a phenomenal job in being the leader in those hundreds of partnerships throughout the nation. CAPLP is constantly in DC and in St. Paul advocating for why these pieces are important legislation to continue funding, because we hold people responsible, not only the decision makers, but the folks that we are helping. And I think that's why this model has been such a success since the 50s, if my math is correct. That rural transportation piece is really tricky. And so the tricky part in that is that it is a proud clientele that is maybe too proud to make the call to get transportation. But it is something that I feel is really important that we remain active in recruiting folks for, because transportation barriers are real and they're tricky and they're challenging. And I think the work that you've done with particularly our older adults throughout Clay County and Wilkin County is really important to allow people to age with grace, but to also take care of them. I want to go back to the NAPS piece. We're delivering boxes of food one time a month to elders throughout rural Clay County. Yep. And, in the past, you've been part of the dialogue on how do we use that bus to transportate, figure out food delivery. And so I just can't underscore enough how important that is for those folks. But you've also been I always say sometimes with those older people in your life, it's important to lay eyes on people to make sure they're doing okay. And that's really what CAPLP does in so many different ways, from our little kiddos to our older adults. So I'm just really grateful for the work that you do. And then my last piece is that Vita tax site. When you hear the numbers from them on the amount of people that they're helping prep tax returns for, it's astonishing the number of dollars that you're able to get back for those families and individuals because they either don't know how to prep it or they don't have the tools to prep it. But what you do is you teach them how to do so. So if that Vita tax for some reason isn't available down the road, or they're making too much money, can't qualify, you've educated them how to do that. Yeah. And I can't underscore enough the variety of ways that you have empowered folks in Clay County. So thank you to you and to your team. We appreciate you.
I do want to comment on the aging services piece. I agree that that the helping some of these people with their tax assistance is really good. I do like what the state did. It sped up the ability for those renters in some of those situations to get that credit much earlier rather than having to wait to even file in August, I think is what it used to be for them.
Correct, yeah.
I wish they'd do the same for us property owners.
Yes, I agree.
But I do want to comment, and I did receive a note that last year's number was 61,747.
Okay.
It's a slight, but I think what, and I talk about this often, CAPLP, I think, helps in a lot of ways with our aging folks. And part of what we like to also see is for them to be able to stay in their homes. It's far more economically feasible for them to be in their homes than to have to go other places, which increases the cost of living for those folks. So the work that you do, I agree with Commissioner Mojo, the amount that is invested by the county is very, very minimal compared to what your overall services. And the fact that those dollars that we invest helps keep our seniors in their homes is extremely important. So kudos to the work that you do for that. So, do we have any other comments? I think you were done with your presentation on your budget. Okay. All right. Well, as you know, we set our preliminary levy in September, so we'll be in touch with you regarding that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again. Thank you for your support. There's 2 invitations in your packet for next week. One is Paint It Forward. That's Wednesday evening at the Tax Center, and then our birthday party's on Thursday. We would love to see you there.
Right.
There's
Thank
going
you.
to be cupcakes.
All right, let me get my agenda straight here. Next, we have our budget presentation from Downtown Moorhead, Inc. Derek, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for the time this morning. Always great to see everyone here today. First off, just want to say thank you. Thank you for a great 2024. Obviously, Clay County has been such an instrumental partner in what's happening with Downtown Moorhead, Inc., and also just the growth of our region too. And without our partnership, I don't think we are seeing the growth that we are. And obviously, just listening to some of the other presentations, it is a collaborative effort. I think there's so many moving parts in what Downtown Moorhead Inc. does, and we're a piece of that puzzle. But I think we have the right structures in place in Clay County right now that's giving us the success that's creating that standout position for us with some of the growth that we're experiencing as well. So I'm going to touch on a few things, and then obviously would love to have your questions and comments as well. So one thing that I think that is important on touching on in 2024 that I thought was a really good starting point for us here was the establishment of our quarterly connects on economic development. Those conversations with Karen Lauer in Barnesville, her and I having chats about that for the last couple of years of just how do we bring people together in a more meaningful way. And I think there's been some really good outcomes because of that. Certainly Clay County stepping up and doing some stuff on their website, and others have been great. But I think also the understanding of just where we sit with projects, sit with issues, challenges, opportunities, all being on the same page is, I think, a great step in creating some uniformity there to go over top of some of these challenges that we may feel as well. And I do have a couple things that are new today that I think is a relevant kind of topic off of those quarterly meetings. One is that we just actually got confirmed here this week that we're going to have James Whirlwind Scholger, who presented from DEED at our last quarterly connect. He's our DEED workforce strategist, and David Heyer, our DEED business development, both in Moorhead on Monday, September 8th. I'm kind of almost just claiming it as a DEED day. We're just going to try to put together a schedule, but I do think that if the county's open to it, I think it'd be great to have both James and David in front of this group or whoever you feel would be important from the Clay County perspective. They're going to present at the Moorhead EDA We have them lined up to connect with our new commercial industrial brokerage firm in Goldmark that's representing the Makara Industrial Park, just for them to understand incentives. I know Greater Fargo Moorhead EDC wants a part of their time as well too. So we're hoping to make a robust, just kind of robust day for them, especially for Dave Heyer, who's coming from Lakeville, which obviously is a day trip in itself. So more to come on that, but glad to have both of those in town as well. The other thing off of that last meeting is we had the discussion of having more information on paid family medical leave. I know James had made a comment that he would reach out to some folks. He did do that. We were kind of making some slow strides on trying to get the deed rep here. Ultimately, and actually collaboration, I ended up reaching out to the Chamber of Commerce too and the State Chamber. It looks like we are going to have the paid family medical leave director in town on Monday, September 15th. We're still coordinating the details of when that time will be and where we're going to locate that. But this will be a great opportunity for our businesses to be educated on the latest from paid leave, straight from the director's mouth, which we're all desperately, I think, waiting for updates just so we can provide some clarity for some of our businesses as well. You know, as mentioned, 2024 was a really, really strong year for Clay County and specifically Moorhead. We saw record permit years. The value for a commercial industrial was the highest it's ever been in Moorhead. This year's been a little slower, and I think part of that is just still some of that economic uncertainty. We're hearing from a lot of developers that the investor confidence to do new projects has been a little tight. Folks are putting money in other places. Doesn't mean that they're going away. It just means that that particular development side is just taking a little bit more of a pause, a little bit more of a due diligence as people try to find that break point from a return standpoint. We are working continually with folks on what we can do from an incentive standpoint, what provides that consumer and investor confidence as well. We do feel very confident that 2026 will be a very strong year again. I think it's just this year that we're seeing that little bit of a step back. We're still seeing great numbers overall. It's just the newer projects are taking a little bit more time to kind of put together. That being said, there's a few specific areas I think worth commenting on, and that's our Makara Industrial Park. We saw a good amount of land sales in the Makara Industrial Park. So this is just south of the interstate between the Moorhead Airport and RDO's offices there. We saw a change, as I mentioned. We had Property Resource Group that was representing the city-owned land for about 5 years. We did an RFP. We had 5 responses. Goldmark Commercial was the one that came up on top with that one. What I appreciate about Goldmark and the way they presented, and they just started on July 1st, is that they do a great job with marketing. They're really celebrating kind of our region. They're going to be putting together some branding videos that look at, why Clay County, why Moorhead, which I think is a great piece of it. We talk about that a lot, of just how we tell our story better. And the more that we have some of these regional, especially regional brokerage firms that do projects, all across certainly North Dakota and western Minnesota, but having that firm that's educated on what's available to them, but ultimately branding our region too and promoting us, I think is really a great thing too. A big project, obviously, that we've talked about is DG Fuels, the Sustainable Aviation Fuel Project. That project is still in progression. I just attended a couple weeks ago. I attended Greater MSP, a group out of the Twin Cities area, hosted a SAF workshop in Minneapolis. Michael Darcy, the chairman of DG Fuels, was present, so I felt that it was appropriate for me to be down there and understand. We heard from Greater MSP, the SAF hub, which they're a part of, and then the state of Minnesota. Governor Walz was there, as well as a panel of legislators as well. The importance of the SAF industry in Minnesota. So I think there is truly support behind it. How we get there is a fully different story. There's obviously large infrastructure associated to this project. There was a lot hanging on the federal credits that this group would receive. I'm happy to report when we went out to DC, the House had omitted some of those things, but the Senate put that back in. So we have a path. This individual has a path to see some forward progress. And actually, the next step in it is through his Department of Energy application is looking at securing the land, which right now we're looking at an option agreement that would create some more regimented due diligence for that site. So we're looking at 550 acres, the large plot that's right adjacent to our Moorhead Airport, that they would be looking at some due diligence here over the next 6 to 12 months, which I think is only boding more confidence that the project is progressing. But certainly we got to have a lot of partnership and a lot of work with the state of Minnesota, Clay County, many others on facilitating, which I think now the chairman mentioned a $7 billion project. So it's increased by $2 billion in just the last year. So sizable project that we're talking with. I'm not going to dwell on this too much, but I will just say that the collaboration and the collective energy between obviously Steve representing the county, Peyton Macera at Dilworth, Dan Molly and myself just working through the Whiter tribe and the casino conversation. I think we've had some really productive conversations and frequent. We've been meeting almost weekly to discuss kind of next steps on that and understanding where leverage points may be, but grateful for that partnership and the willingness of all of us coming together and finding some solutions on that one too. Two other things I think worth bringing up here today, certainly our downtown project. Downtown Moorhead is undergoing some major transformation right now. I know Liz was in here earlier talking about the Library Community Center. We actually brought our Downtown Moorhead Inc. board through that facility yesterday at 4. If you guys would like to go through that, I know folks would love to take you through it. It's a really remarkable space. You can start to see the definition of where offices will be, where the Center for Entrepreneurship would be, the indoor playground space, and many other features of it. So it's just great to see it, and you get a much different perspective of how much activity is happening on that downtown redevelopment site. There's a curb being paved on the new Minnesota Avenue, which is on the north side of where the mall was at, as well as Minnesota Avenue, which is just on the north side of that library as well. Downtown Chiropractic was one of two businesses remaining in the existing portion of the mall. They just moved over here last week. And then there's Bob with the barbershop in the mall too. I'm happy to report that it looks like Kevin Bartram is going to accommodate him in a spot in that former U.S. Bank building for a period of time as well. So we will have everyone out of that mall space hopefully by the end of this month here. And then we'll see demolition of that remaining mall space here by the end of September. So we're really talking about a blank slate of truly remarkable opportunity that can exist in that area too. I know Kevin Bartram is extremely excited about the project at 650 Center. As mentioned, Downtown Chiropractic moving in there. The other remaining commercial space was about 3,000 square feet, and the title team is taking that on. So all the commercial is completely spoken for, as well as some really good progress and opportunities on the residential that's being built there as well. We're excited to facilitate some additional developer conversations. Been working with a group that's exploring a hotel option in our downtown, as well as some other multifamily kind of mixed-use facilities as well. So excited to see what happens in the next few months here, but certainly significant transformation. We've been extremely grateful in that we've gotten 2 $1 million grants from DEED through the redevelopment grant application, and look forward to seeing if there's other opportunities to be able to tap in as well. Last thing I'll mention, and I think I've shared this with this group before, I found myself in St. Paul much more than I probably wanted to be last year, but I find that it is such a critical piece of the opportunity and the growth that we can have here in Clay County. I think we were hopeful to maybe see some changes to our border city legislation, create some more flexibility that can truly get to the crux of some of the border cities challenges that we have, kind of get out of our old school mentality of economic development being, purely industry or manufacturing primary sector, but how do you help a restaurant that is working through, tip credit challenges with North Dakota and other things. So we actually just got word here late yesterday that Senator Aaron Murphy is in town today with Senator Kupek. So we just got word of that. She actually had reached out, and Senator Kupak had reached out just to have a small discussion on the border city stuff. So we're going to have that this afternoon. Not sure what their schedule is for the rest of the time here, but grateful that they're going to give a quick little time for us to be able to discuss that and see what paths may be forward on that one too. I'll expect much more probably activity next year too as the Sustainable Aviation Fuel Project continues. I know Commissioner Mojo, we've talked about DNR and some of their comments. We've been pretty steady on trying to communicate to the right individuals. Chet Bodine with Deeds Business Development up on the Northwest Minnesota has kind of handled their business first stop. He's the one kind of coordinating a lot of these conversations with staff, but we know that we can always increase our communication as we uncover more and kind of learn more. It's got to be that two-way street of how we work together to try to get some of these big projects done and ultimately just see other projects done across our region too. So last thing I'll close on is we are in the last year of our 3-year contract with the city of Moorhead. We are looking to extend that, just so everybody's aware. I hope, and talking with Dan and council members, I think they're grateful for the partnership, as are we and Downtown Moorhead Inc. Downtown Moorhead Inc. remains, really strong with our board. We've had some great consistency with our board over the last number of years here. We've been in establishment now for almost 8 years, which is a far cry from, I would say, some of our board members thinking that it would be a 3-year fundraiser and then they'd be done. And we've shown that progress, and just seeing folks kind of go through that downtown site yesterday, they could really see the momentum and the opportunities. So we're still collecting that private investment, which I think is so critical. Obviously, the investments from the higher ed partnerships that we have, which I think has been a great collaborative effort with some new leadership in MSUM and Concordia. And then certainly, obviously, our partnership here with Clay County. I think this is a really great opportunity for us to just continue to put our step forward and working together and finding solutions to, I think, more opportunities than challenges at this point in time. So with that, I'll close and be grateful for any comments or questions.
All right, well, you always bring really good information for us, and I thank you for that. I have one comment more than anything regarding the issue regarding border cities legislation. I know through your work and others, there's been some efforts to maybe try to expand that or improve on that border cities legislation, and and obviously you have to fight a battle in doing that with the. There's certain parts of the state that maybe don't understand. I would like for you to maybe on one of our next joint meetings that we have on our economic development, to maybe have you talk a little bit about, what is the what are you up against when you're dealing with this, so that we can understand what some of those concerns are of others and how we could help address those issues to just help improve from a statewide standpoint the importance of the border cities legislation.
I think it's a great comment, and I think I've shared with this group before. I think we got to be more collective on legislative stuff, and I know that's something the county has been doing too. And I'm not full-time legislative affairs. We have obviously a person with Moorhead that does that, but certainly when it comes to some of these actions, it touches economic development in a very big way. I think we got to be much more intentional about including our business community, because they're obviously the ones that are feeling it the most. I think, in a lot of ways, obviously the budget discussion and the potential deficit of the state really probably slowed some of the conversations toward the end too, but I'll just say, it's sometimes tiring in that, and a lot of times that we see a path forward to potentially help a business. We know our statute limits us on what we can and cannot do with our border city stuff. So a lot of times we're going back and working with the state, kind of asking some questions. And this is prior to making the request to maybe create some flexibility in language, but they would always revert back to saying, well, you have a border cities, enterprise zone fund balance right now. Why aren't you using that? Well, it's not so easy. If it was easy enough to kind of put those funds to work, we would. The reality is some of those challenges of how stringent those statutes are and how important it is to modernize that language as we move forward and understand more of these disparities, I think will be critical for us to continue the accelerated growth. So I welcome that conversation, and I look forward to maybe bringing some more information to our next meeting, because I think we need to find a path forward, not only through the state, but through our local legislators too, of the importance of this piece as well.
Good.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. Are you attending the discussion today with Senator Murphy?
I am not.
Okay. The only reason I ask.
Sorry. I am attending the one today on border cities. I don't know if there's other things that.
No, that's what I'm talking
yes,
about.
Yes, I am attending
Can
this
you
one.
reach out to Representative Keeler? She's not aware of that dialogue, and I think that's really important in making sure that we have a collected voice in St. Paul.
Yep.
So if you could do that after this, that would be fantastic. I just want to speak for a second for folks that also spent more time in St. Paul than they were ready for. Derek is a phenomenal champion for not only downtown Moorhead, but all of Clay County. He elevated a lot of our concerns also in his time at the Capitol, and I think that's really helpful, but also speaks to the reason why we felt it necessary to include some Clay County tax dollars to go forward with your mission. And making sure that we have that quarterly EDA meeting and working with the smaller cities and making sure that we're all on the same page and what we're all trying to elevate is so important. So again, thanks for your work there. Thanks for your collaborative nature. Thanks for also being willing to maybe answer questions and be part of dialogues for a region that's not just downtown Moorhead. I think your board has been supportive in supporting missions that really elevate all of the work that's being done. And I think that's why it's been such a valuable partnership. So thanks, Derek.
I appreciate that. And I will, so Senator Kupek was the one that brought this forward today. I'm going to reach out to him to make sure that goes forward to Representative Keeler.
Derek, I know, at the county level, when it comes to economic development within our budget process, we kind of have like a little web of things where money goes here, money goes there, and money goes here, and money goes there. And certainly even though you're known as Downtown Moorhead Inc., as Commissioner Mojo said, you bring some real expertise that benefits all of Clay County. And I certainly will be in it. And I noticed there was no request in your budget presentation today, but I can assure you that we see the value in the investment. We have seen that value, and I think this year we're going to probably have some considerable discussions on where our economic development dollars should go and where they're best served. So I think we'll have those conversations, and I will certainly be an advocate for the work that you do, and hopefully making sure that some of those funds continue to flow for your work.
Well, I appreciate that. I know we've had some discussions as a board, maybe in closing, of just the brand of Downtown Moorhead Inc. I mean, it's very certain, even from when we first started 6 months into it and taking on the City of Moorhead Economic Development contract, that our organization is much more than just downtown. And I know attending the SAF conference in Minneapolis, I was sitting next to the president of Bank of America. He looks at the name tag of like Downtown Moorhead Inc. Like, what are you sitting at this table for? So there's been some discussion of, should we rebrand? I know we had that conversation with Steve Scheel, who was on our board for a long period of time, of just our work is so much more meaningful than that, even though we find the importance of investing in Downtown Moorhead. So we're having those discussions this year as a board as well.
Commissioner Ebinger.
Yeah, I'm just kind of reiterate things, particularly what Commissioner Campbell just said. We have got kind of scattershot funding going out to support regional efforts in development. You have done more since I've been on the commission, which is, 5 years now, than just about anybody in addressing our concerns as a county, and in collaborating and in working with partnerships on that. And there are great efforts being made in this area, but a lot of them are somewhat North Dakota centric. And I don't like to stoke the regional issues that we occasionally have. It happens right here in Clay County. You've got rural Clay County sometimes feels like Moorhead's are getting too much and not paying enough attention to them. But you're a good bridge for the Minnesota side of this, and it's being productive. And again, we have some great opportunities coming in. But it's going to take a clear hand, and it's going to take good information. You provided that to us in the past, and as Kevin indicated, I think that's something we really need to centralize where our money goes and make sure that we're getting a return on investment. And you have been part of that. So if you want to rename yourself to Clay County Inc., we can work with you on that. And you can tell them that when you're negotiating your next contract with Moorhead. But you've done a great job for us, and it's been a collaborative effort. So looking forward to working with you another year.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments.
So Derek, just a curiosity question more than anything regarding the new buildings that are down there that, I think it's Bertram that's doing.
Bartram's, yep.
Bartram?
Yep.
And that's where,
Downtown chiropractic.
Downtown
Chiropractic
Chiro-
team. Yep.
there's like a little horseshoe area there with a lot of, I'm assuming those are all apartments?
Yeah, so for Kevin's particular project, it's called 650 Center. So he's got the commercial square footage out in front of Center. That's where Downtown Chiropractic
Right.
expanded their business, right? Went to about 14,000 square feet of space there, which is fantastic.
Right.
Then there's two kind of towers, so they kind of create that U shape above. More studio efficient units that overlook Center, and then larger 2 to 3 bedroom units that overlook the river. So Kevin's extremely strategic when he looks at unit development, especially when you bring on that many units and how you kind of bring two different avenues for folks in a mix of units. I think every single Kevin, Mr. Bartram, I should say, just says. He doesn't do this for charity. These projects are cash flowing for him. They're renting. Certainly his commercial space is filling too. So we're extremely grateful for all the work that he's been doing in our downtown. He's been an awesome champion for Moorhead. I know he's doing stuff across the region too, and more in Minnesota even too. Yeah, we're excited to see those units probably come online here within the next couple months as well.
I see that, and it just seems like there's some capacity there for an awful lot of residential growth just within that facility alone.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, does that have underground parking, or where's the parking going to be for?
Yeah, he actually has first floor parking on that one. So it's kind of tucked behind Downtown Chiropractic. It's on that
Okay.
first floor, so you can access off of 6th Street, which is a new street,
Okay.
and then 7th Street as well. So it's got that first floor parking that accommodates a good majority, if not all the units, kind of a 1-to-1 ratio that you see is a pretty commonplace now. And then obviously we're being much more strategic on the shared parking arrangement around the whole system, right? So our goal is to have probably north of 800 living units in that district. Now there's more on-street parking in that core. We have the parking structure. We have the parking deck that goes over top First Avenue North. So we're looking at that holistically as how projects come together. Even in the library community space, we have the ability to have a breakaway wall with a adjacent development to share underground parking on those facilities as well. So yeah, it's fun to see it come together. There's a lot of people that didn't give us a whole lot of chance that something could happen down there. And obviously we're extremely grateful and supportive of all those businesses that were there. But I'll close in saying that one Kevin Bartram project, it's the 650 Center building, has about, the whole mall site set on the tax rolls for about $20 million. Kevin's one project is about $30 million. So you talk about, the burden that the public was kind of taking on some of the existing surface parking lots that sat there, the hallways being public right away. But to really get this back into the private hands and seeing that development, seeing people that are going to live down there to ultimately support those businesses that have relocated, Downtown Chiropractic, Bob's Barbershop, the Moorhead Drug, et cetera. Like there's opportunities, I think, for so many of those folks that chose to relocate out of the mall to new spaces. And we saw a great investment, obviously, with Moorhead Vision going to South Moorhead, which is a great fit for them too. So, just excited for the future. We know we got to be strategic on how we grow that, but looking forward to the next project. And we have some pretty big things that I can't announce publicly here today that are in the works that I think will be a great addition to our downtown as well.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Derek.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
You want a break? Okay. I have been asked to have a quick break here, so we will take 5 minutes. All right, we are back in session. Our next item is the budget presentation from Public Health. Kathy, it's like you brought some reinforcements with you today. Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I have Brandon with me. Most of you maybe know him. He's our financial manager. Been here less than a year, though, so. So we will go through, this budget has been crazy this year, probably the worst I've seen in many years. Funding uncertainties with state and federal, as well as we're in the midst of our CHB changes. So we're going from the 4-county CHB, which I've mentioned previously. 2 counties are leaving and forming their own CHB. So there's a lot of grant funding that goes from July of one year to June of the next. So a lot of uncertainty. I met with the 4-county CHB directors, and there's been some controversy on one of them. The only 2 areas that really have changed from your previous packet was FEP and RSG funding, and then a change in WIC. So it's not all of the funding across the board. So I can go through the programmatic information. You can stop me anytime you have questions. That would be the 25-26 budget comparison with all the programs on the side. We also have the 24 budget comparison as well.
So Kathy, can I just interrupt just for a
Yes.
minute? I have 2 different deals on my desk here. One of them was paper clipped, and then there was another one that was stapled, which is the,
Is it stapled?
The stapled one is the correct one.
okay.
The
So that-
updated one with those 2 items for FEP, CRI, RSG, and then the WIC.
That was the latest as of yesterday, so we wanted to give you the latest updated one. Okay, so I'll talk through, our budget is divided. I know it's different than probably all of the budgets in Clay County.
Can I ask why?
Why? A lot of our funding is grant funds, state and federal, and then it's also divided by our required responsibilities. So we have reporting on every individual grant fund. So that's why we have such a different funding. This is the summary that you're seeing. We have a large grant that we used to go through lots of years ago, but then the request from this board was to summarize all of it.
Right.
So as we're looking at the first administration, that's our administrative catch-all for all of the expenses that are not covered by grant funding. We do have a local public health grant in there, and that's divided as the CHB, the 4 counties, so that's an administration. We have a MDH CDC infrastructure grant that will cover some infrastructure of public health. They're trying to enhance our public health infrastructure. It's been lacking for many years, so we're trying to improve that, as well as our foundation of public health responsibilities. So you can see that falls under that category of assuring adequate infrastructure. And if you can see on the 2026 ask is, we have the revenue and the expenditures. So the revenue portion and the expenditures, again, so much of that is not grant funded. And then we have the ask, which is the 24,000 difference from what we asked in 25. The next category is immunizations, flu, and disease prevention and control. And that, again, is all of the immunizations we provide from children to adults. Our flu vaccines, of course, we provided COVID vaccine, and any other vaccine that, that is required. That is an area we bill for all the vaccines we possibly can. We have the billing person and the auditor staff, so they do as much billing as they can for all those immunizations. Unfortunately, there's costs to some of those. During COVID, we didn't have a cost to COVID vaccine, but following that, there's a cost to purchase those. So you can see that's kind of a higher area of ask. And disease prevention and control is obviously any infectious diseases that occur in our community that we follow up on. The next area is, I just mentioned, the FEP, CRI, and RSG. That's under emergency preparedness. That is a program area, and we have the ask of 13,704, but the caveat to that is we will have a CHB meeting on Friday, and there will be some discussion about that. There's a way to distribute that funds through the 4 counties. We believe and agree with the state formula. That is population, SVI, and then a base. That appears, in my opinion, Brandon's, it is the best way to divide the funding. It should not be equally divided. We have such disparity if you think about how large Clay County is for population, and we have a couple of smaller counties, of course, in our CHB. So that will be a discussion that happens on Friday at our CHB meeting. I would hope that there would be a full vote to follow the state formula. That's the recommended formula for this funding. But I know there will be brought forth some, there'll be some conversation about how they would like to divide it differently. So that'll come out of the CHB. So hopefully we'll be able to bring some reasonable thought to that, and the other commissioners from the other counties. Our EMS management, the ambulance.
So Kathy, just back on that. So you're talking about now, because this has gone from the 4 counties to 2, there's funds that are remaining out there, and those are the funds we're talking about distributing? Is that?
In this case, there are funds that are calendar year for the CHB, and then there's funds that go across 2 calendars from like July of this year to June of next year. So the funding in question for this is that funding that goes from July to June. So half of this year will be with, until December, end of December, will be with the 4 counties. Then starting January of '26, it will be Becker and Clay, and then Otter Tail and Wilkin are forming their own CHB. So then it'll be 2 counties starting January of '26 and forward. And this has been really challenging to, it's been really challenging to have the split, and we're working with the state on all the grant funds to determine, half of a year's portion, and then what would be the next half for 2 counties. So the state's been very involved with us. We're meeting with them regularly, and then we'll be meeting with the CHB board to discuss that as well. There's many grants that go through that.
When the 4-county group was formed, was there ever an agreement in place as to what would happen in the event that it was changed or dissolved? What would happen with those funds?
Not in detail like that. There isn't a lot of the dissolution of a CHB if all the counties leave or 2 counties leave. If there's a dissolution of the current structure, there is the notification that has to be a year.
Right.
But there hasn't been any. The state, most of these grants are through the state, federalist state and down. So all the grant managers are working on how this is going to play out. So we don't have, we have some decisions to make, but the state will have to determine how much is it going to be for the 6 months left, and how much will it be for the next 6 months in 2 counties. So that's a little bit not yet. It's not formalized yet for funding. So that's why we're in kind of a bad spot right now.
Who has the ultimate say in that, in how that distributed?
Well, the state probably gives us the best direction on what the grant should be and how the division should be. And I know she's, the state manager is working with all the grant managers for all of our grants. The
Do
CHB
they
rate,
recommend this formula? The
the
state?
state recommends the formula, yes, yes.
But who has the decision on it? Does the CHB board have the final decision?
Well, the CHB board can decide at this point, because we're Partnership for Health, for counties. So the CHB can say, no, we want this much for
Okay,
even July through December, and equally split. Or hopefully, the decision will be go with the state formula, and then we'll all be, well, most of us will be happy about that. That's how it should be. It should be divided again by population, SVI, and the base. However, the CHB has some decisions at this point on Friday with this particular funding because there's controversy about it with the CHB. And the state will not mandate. It'd be nice if the state mandated and said, no, this is what you have to do. That formula is a recommendation, not a mandate. Did that answer your question?
Yes, Steve.
So Kathy, just to clarify then, obviously, we're going to have two situations where we have two counties. In one county, in particular, Wilkin, I assume, is in favor of receiving an equal amount. So from the CHB, is there a negotiation that will go through, or is there something that dictates within the contract of how you guys are going to, because if it's a 2-2 vote, how do we get to that decision?
Okay, so are you wondering post, is starting in 2026?
Well, you'd mentioned that there's going to be a discussion at the next CHB of how the funding is going to be distributed. The request from Ottertail and Wilkin has been that it's going to be distributed equally through the rest of this year, at least, correct? And then next year, hopefully, then it will go back to the state.
Correct,
Okay,
yes, yes.
So how will the CHB come to a conclusion if it's going to be two counties voting?
So yes, that could be, we have 4 commissioners on that board, voting members, and then we have 2 community reps. So
From what counties?
the community rep, one is from Wilkin and one is from Becker County. So potentially, are you saying, could that be a split? Yeah, it could possibly be.
But Kathy, will we have a sound recommendation? I know they're not going to mandate it, but will the state give us a specific endorsement of the plan as we want to see it go through?
Yeah, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Ebinger, I do have a call into the state about that specific question. So I should hopefully know today.
Okay.
I know it's a gray area. It's really, that's the challenges of the split.
The disbursement after December will be by the state to the 2 separate CHBs.
Correct. Yes, that is correct.
And the formula they'll use is the one we're endorsing for the funds remaining for this fiscal year, or this year.
The CHB, once we split, they can decide what they do with their funding. We would always recommend the formula, and the public health supervisor, Rebecca, is on board with that.
All right.
Okay. Ambulance, yes, thank you. Ambulance, so the county administrator had mentioned there's been an increased ask in the ambulance. We put that in our budget, and of course, would see that as a county expense. It's not something that public health has funding to support. So we put the ask in there, so that can change depending on what this board approves. And COVID funding, we had COVID funding. Initially, we talked about when it got rescinded. And since that point, with some injunction federally, it got, so we have access to it again. We don't know how long that will be. There's not a finite date. I suspect that's still in litigation. So we have COVID funding at this point. Unfortunately, it doesn't cover vaccine. It's very, very limited to what we can use the COVID funds for. So we've been in discussions about utilization and what that could be used for, but it is extremely limiting.
Is there a question?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. Kathy, did we have, of the COVID funds that we'd received, did we have to send any back?
We, yes, we had all of the COVID money. So one was COVID vaccine and one was the implementation portion of COVID. All of that money went back. And then there was the federal injunction. And so that money got reinstated to local public health.
Okay.
So we have that money as of now to the CHB, our Community Health Board. We do have that funding right now, just trying to work with the state on what's the allowable expenses, and it's very limiting.
So that is that part of the 2024 revenue number that you have here?
The 2020.
Do we know what year
Oh,
your
yeah.
allocation went back?
Yes, that was an allocation, correct, from 2024. And 25, we purchased some vaccine. You can see that 12,000 that wasn't covered. Vaccine, ironically, was not covered in the COVID grant. So we had purchased some COVID vaccine, not covered by that funds.
So I guess my question more is, when you have the line item with the budgeted revenue at 66,721, and then the expenses go higher than that, I'm wondering, was it so restrictive? That's why the funds that had gone back but now are back aren't being utilized for that entire expense?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, and in that specific instance, that 12,000 there, the variance in the 2025 budget, that was due to those COVID vaccines that weren't covered.
Okay,
There just wasn't an allowable expense to be reimbursed through the state.
that's ironic.
Yeah. And then, yeah, for the 2026 budget period, we haven't, like Kathy mentioned, we have those funds reinstated for now. They're not sure how long we're gonna have access to those funds. And they're very restrictive, like she said, so we didn't budget anything for that grant, just due to the uncertainty involving it in the future going into 2026.
You know, I think that maybe there should be some creative dialogues in how we can best utilize that, if it can help with any future reductions in what your budget ask is. You know, I hate to see grant or funds that are available for really good cause, us not utilizing that to the full extent. So however you need support, you know, I think that's important.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Mojo. We have been in touch with the grant manager from the state in determining what others are using the money for. They're across the state, and everyone seems to be in the same boat about, again, it's federal funds coming down to the state, so it's been really a challenge. One thing we talked about as a CHB is hand sanitizer can be purchased with that. It's just one example that, but yes, we're trying to be creative and work on other options with our grant manager as well. Okay, the next area is our environmental health. And this is an area where, as the four-county CHB, Clay's environmental health director did oversee Otter Tail's staff for food, pool, and lodging. We have a delegated agreement with the state to cover the food, pool, and lodging licensure and inspections. He also provided all of the services in Wilkin County, so he covered all of those establishments as well. Now in 2026, as our budget reflects, we will not have, Otter Tail was paying for some of his time, for oversight of the staff and oversight of that program and all the reports that were required to go to the state, as well as Wilkin County's revenue, so that we will not have that in 2026. Otter Tail and Wilkin will be covering their own. Becker has the state providing their services, so our program will just be with Clay. So we have the food pool and lodging, and we,
I have a question, sorry.
yes.
Sorry, I always struggle with this form because it's so much different than this form. So if I feel delayed on questions, that's why. So if we're reducing the workload with those counties, is that reflected in the expenses for 26? Well, the supervisory piece, right?
Right, the supervisory piece for Otter Tail was, yes, Kent provided that, and he provided all the Wilkin oversight, but we also had one full-time sanitarian that worked regularly. We've always had two full-time individuals in this program area because of all the additional services that they provide. The septic systems are pretty huge. Right now, we only have two variable hour people assisting Kent. One is very limited in assisting with food pool and lodging, but it's possibly once or twice a month is all.
So there's a reduction because they're not working as much?
They aren't working as much, but we'll be going to pick next week to request the two full-time. Kent is full-time, and then we need one more full-time. And then we can eliminate one variable hour position. Because their responsibilities, they have so many licensed establishments, they have to have one FTE. It's 220 establishments. Well, we have 331 in Clay County alone. So that's more than a full-time person. Plus the on-site septic systems and the demolition landfill, all of the public health nuisance, mold. There's other things I probably have forgotten that he has provided. So we need two full-time people in that one.
Okay, so I guess with parting ways with the two counties, there's more workload in Clay County?
Correct. That was covered by a full-time person.
So was that workload in Clay County not being addressed because we were in other counties?
The full-time, so we had two full-time people in providing all of the food pool and lodging inspections. And then we had, with those two, had all the septics and landfills, which is a whole nother segment. So they were pretty overwhelmed with that amount of work.
Okay.
Always have had two, and then usually a variable hour person. This budget in 26 does reflect two full-time employees, a 0.3 of the admin support, getting the licensing out, and then a variable hour as a 0.2, as well as part of the auditor staff that is assisting with all of the billing that comes in for licensures. So this current budget reflects what we will need for that program area.
Okay.
Yes, Commissioner Burr.
If we look at the Wilkin County Environmental Services for 2025 there, revenue was 8,500, but the expenses were 22,000. Don't we just bill Wilkin County for the work down there, or why is that different? Because the 2024 budget, it looks like it's all even.
Yeah, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Bear, the Wilkin County, we collected all of their license fees and then provided the services. So there was no billing. Wilkin County, we collected all the fees and then provided the services for the inspections and licensing. So that 8,500 is a deferred revenue, is that correct, Brandon?
The 8,500 is what we collected in license fees, it looked like. But there is a part of deferred revenue that goes into it when we collect, say, at the end of the year for next year, when we're collecting those license. We have to receipt that revenue right when we receive it. because we're the fiscal hosts, and then that revenue is saved for next year, so it's a deferred revenue that goes into next year. So that revenue number is just what we collected in the license fees, and the 22,000 is what's estimated to go into the supervisory role of that, but then also all the other program expenses, to run those license and make sure everything is up to par with that.
But 2024 was even.
Yes, that is correct.
So do we anticipate 25 to be exactly even once all the deferred pieces come to play?
Yes, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Mojo, we do anticipate, because we still will be working through with Otter Tail and Wilkin, so we anticipate that we will come out even. Okay, next area, healthy communities, healthy behaviors. We have everything from the public health clinic, family home visiting, WIC, school, some health promotion, grants, and SHIP. Public health clinic, I think I mentioned before, there are a variety of services that our clinic nurse provides, from car seats to, let's see, what else do we, outreach, child and teen checkup. She does some of that. Of course, she does the vaccines. We've already mentioned that some of her time goes into the immunizations. I'm trying to think of what else. She does our TB investigation. So we have TB clients, tuberculosis clients in our community that requires follow-up. Some of it is non-infectious, so that requires medications that the nurse gets from the state and must provide to those residents. Sometimes we have an infectious TB, tuberculosis, so there's some follow-up on that as well. So that is the clinic nurse that provides all of that. And then she also provides, she has to do inspections to ensure that our clinics are providing storage and handling of vaccines properly. So that is delegated from the state to our clinic nurse that provides that as well. So she'll go out to all of the clinics and ensures that their vaccine storage and handling meets the requirements. We also have refugee health, which again, if there's refugees, the nurse will follow up to get them connected to a provider in the community and make sure that they get referred to the services that they need. Our family home visiting, we had a couple of programs. You remember for years we've talked about the Nurse Family Partnership Program, evidence-based program that was, we were the first in the state to have that in Clay County. It was an exceptional program. Since then, there's been lots of changes over the years. That's at least 25 years ago. We have another evidence-based program. It's called MESH. And that program gives us a broader ability to serve clients, moms and babies with multiple families. So it gives us a better reach to our residents. So I made the decision this year because of the cost of the NFP program. We had a huge cost for their data and reports that was non-negotiable, and that was not covered. So that fee would have been about $60,000 additional cost to the county. So I determined that being fiscally responsible, we have to end that program. So we're ending it at the end of this year. We still have the MESH program, so we still have an evidence-based program, but we just cannot manage two programs without a lot of county dollars. So that will end, and then we'll continue with our family home visiting regular program, and then our evidence-based program, which will cover all of the clients that we can serve in our community. WIC, that's a program that's federally state funded. I thought we could get by without one variable hour, but the numbers are so high in our WIC program. We have 3 full-time staff, And so we need another variable hour person to keep their load down. They have, let me see what their numbers are. I don't have it, but there's about 1,400 clients per month, so 3 staff is too difficult to manage all those clients. We get paid by participation rates, so that rate we can't set. That's set by the federal and state government. So there is some cost for the county in that. So that's why you see that there is some additional cost for our WIC program. But in order to maintain the numbers that we're serving, we needed to have a variable hour person in addition. School health, we provide school nursing for 2 school districts in our county. We used to have all the schools, as you well remember, and we're down now to 2 school districts. So we have school nurse in each of those districts in Clay County. The SHIP program, that's our statewide health improvement program, that's grant funded. We have staff that are fully funded through that program. That's a 4-county program as for now in our 4 counties. I believe Otter Tail and Wilkin want to maintain, they want to stay with the SHIP program. They would not have a SHIP program on their own. So we can do that. We can collaborate with them, Otter Tail and Wilkin. We have a 5-year contract for SHIP, so we can see if we can manage for 2026 with that SHIP program in the 4 counties. But Partnership for Health, Clay and Becker retain that. That is a program that we would retain, which is good. Health promotion, we have a number of health promotion grants. We are always seeking, that team is always seeking grant funding for all of their health promotion activity. Annabelle, who was hired on for opioid, she has secured a total of $715,000 grants. Some of those are going out to the communities. Some of the work is we're collaborating with them. It's substance use and suicide prevention, drug overdose prevention, community building grant, and a second community, FM area community building grant. So she's brought in a lot of money for our community. Most of her work is grant funded right now, like at a 0.9. And then we have 0.1 that we're using with our opioid settlement dollars. So there's a lot of funding coming in. We also have another grant pending that's $746,000 over a 3.5-year period. So there's a fair number of funding sources that are coming in, but not all, again, they're community-based. So a lot of the funding is helping their community partners. And then we have tobacco license. Obviously, we have to do the tobacco checks with facilities that are selling tobacco, and we have 1 employee who is able to provide that for us. There's that $3,000 that is allocated to him.
I have one question. Is that 3,000, is that grant money to do that, or
That's license fees.
license fees that do that? And then I have another question on school health.
Yes.
Do we get reimbursed from the school district for that?
We do have contracts with the school district. As you can see, they don't cover everything. We still have great relationships to follow up on immunizations there, infectious disease processes, some other things. So there is some county dollars that go into that. I work with the superintendents to try to increase the funding. So more of that is covered, and we're doing the same this year. We don't have a definitive answer yet, but school districts are fully aware that they're not fully covering those nurses.
Mr. Mojo.
Thank you. A little bit of a sideways comment, but not sideways comment, but sideways thought, I guess, is with the COVID-19 funds that we had to give back, is there any way that we can utilize some of those funds throughout our school districts to help offset some of their costs? particularly if we have not found a way to be able to utilize that, and if anyone needs hand sanitizer, it's an elementary school. I mean, it just seems like it would be a way for us to equitably help our school districts.
Yes, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Mojo, yes, that's a great example of an opportunity we could have to do that, so thank you for that. Next area, I know this gets to be so confusing with all of our program areas. We have our quality and accessibility of health services. So there we have child and teen checkup, outreach, and screening. That is, we get grant funds to provide services. What we try to do is get children in to see their provider and their dentist, and these are children on medical assistance that oftentimes are not getting in to see their providers. So that's quite a large funding from the state. We have refugee health in there. I think I already mentioned that the clinic nurse provides if we have a refugee that comes into our community. Detox and withdrawal management, you see that we just put a, even revenue and expenses because the request does come through social services. They actually have the mandate to ensure that there's detox services provided in our community, or there's detox services that we would send individuals to. So they have the mandate. Public health oversees it because it's a medical model. So we oversee that program, but you will have that ask. I think it's close to $2 million. I can't remember off the top of my head, but from Quinn will bring that forth when he provides his update. Opioid settlement money. I mentioned that Annabelle has a little bit of the 0.1 that comes out of that opioid settlement. And then we had some, Brandon might have the list of the additional funding.
Yeah, so, let me turn this on. All right, so yes, thank you. We did receive some additional funding from the opioid settlement funding over the weekend here. So happy to report that we received $186,551 this weekend, bringing our opioid settlement fund total to $338,474. That's what's total, and that's after paying the $1 million for detox, for the detox facility. So after our ask here of that $37,000, that remaining fund balance would be $301,185 for the opioid settlement funding.
And Mr. Chair, Commissioners, just a note, last week you signed an opt-in to settlement for the Purdue. That doesn't include Purdue, but we won't know until what that figure is until later this fall. So in our, the detox financial model that we had established in terms of paying for that facility, how much in opioid dollars did we put into that?
We did put $1 million towards it.
And how much of that have we received?
We've made the payment out of what Brandon mentioned is the dollars that we have now after making that $1 million payment. So that 300,000 plus is funds that our committee is going to have to get together to figure out what we're going to do. Up until this year or towards the tail end of last year, we really didn't have any funding dollars to do much with because it was all going to detox, and now part of what we're going to have to do moving forward is have that discussion of how to best allocate.
So have we already received the $1 million?
Yes.
In cash?
So the payments today vary from our third payment to our fifth payment in what Brandon talked about, and some of those vary. If you remember, our first one was Janssen. That was going to be over an 18-year period, but we received about 200,000 right out of the gate versus a smaller amount. This year, I think the payment for Janssen was right around 88,000. And so we're going to receive payments from Janssen and the distributors for probably about another 15 years. The other may vary between 12 years, 5 years, 7 years. And so part of what I've asked Kathy and her team to do is to put together that information to come to you at a later time to talk about what we can expect from a funding mechanism moving forward. I will say, and I think I've shared this with the board before, it's very frustrating because even though you've opted in as a board to the national settlement, we don't know what we receive. We received the notification on Saturday or late Friday, and that morning, the auditor treasurer had already received the money. And so we don't know what next year's allocation is. That's the issue. We know that pretty much they've stayed the same, and or maybe increased a little bit each year. So we have a generalized idea, but we won't know on an annual basis until they provide that.
All right.
Okay, moving on, our last four items, starting with the case aid, case management, special needs, basic care, and min choices. Those are all in our adult health programs. We have 14 nurses that work in that area right now, and we have 2 social workers and 3 case aides. So the funding for this is through DHS. We work with all of the health plans and the state. So they fund some of this work that we're doing. We're doing case management and we're doing assessments. This particular area is important because we are keeping people in their home as long as possible before they go into a more expensive, obviously, long-term care or assisted living. So this is an important prevention to keep them safely in their home. We don't provide the services in their home, but we arrange and coordinate with services in our community to keep them safe. You can see where, over the years, the revenue does not quite meet our expenses. We have one program where we have revenue over expenses. What I found out this year is our time study, which is information that's sent to the state, which generates revenue. Across the whole state, public health receives significantly less amount of money for those assessments than all of the social services agencies across the state. Really a significant amount difference. We're providing the same assessment. So our organization, Local Public Health Association and others have been trying to determine why there's such a disparity there. If we had that same rate amount for the time studies, we could meet all expenses in this program area, but we don't. Now, DHS, I know there's information out there that they're going with a flat rate. How that's going to impact this area as far as assessments and the social services area, we are not aware of yet. We don't know what that rate's going to be, but there has to be some changes. I've been reaching out to the health plans to see if there's some ability to change that amount that we're receiving, but again, it's across the state board, so not sure that I'm going to get very far there. I've been meeting with social services as well to determine how best can we tackle this lower revenue rate that we're receiving and tap into the ability for our social services through their source to get a higher rate. We're in negotiations on that. I'm hoping that there can be some resolution for 26. The flat rate does not start till 27. So we're in kind of a spot for 26, but we're serving, the caseloads are very high for the nurses. And I've talked about a couple openings we still have. Caseloads should be around 60, 70, and they're close to 95. So it's almost unimaginable, unattainable amount of work that they have to try to keep up. The assessors that do the assessment, we also get paid through the time studies for that, have really high caseloads. So 12 assessments in a month is too heavy, and we have 3.5 assessors. So the bottom line is, if we could have a better revenue source, why DHS ever had that disparity, there's no response from them on that, but finding that out was kind of an eye-opener for many of us across the state for public health. So working on what we can do, working with Quinn as well. So our final request was 2,000,
Or, yeah, so our final
Or $2
request is the $2,306,255. That's an increase of $193,183 from 2025 request. And then just kind of a breakdown of the expenses and revenue comparison is the next sheet to follow.
Yeah, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, would you like to go? We list all the revenue sources that we have, and this is just in general, and then all of the expenditures from payroll to the medical consultant to marketing. Not sure if you want me to go through all of those line
I think
items?
those numbers, we all have them here, if, unless the commissioner has a question on it, I think we can review those as we move forward in the budget process. Steve, I have one question for you. In terms of it seems to me that we must be ahead of schedule in terms of what we anticipated in revenues from the opioid settlements. If we've already received $1 million, because we thought that we were only gonna get a certain portion of that, that would take 15 to 18 years to get for that. Could you provide us as a board, what are the options that boards have for use of opioid settlement dollars?
Yeah, we've had that conversation with Kathy and Brandon. I think, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, what you're thinking of is when we initially did the Janssen and the distributors, we were looking at receiving roughly 1.9 million. You've since opted into 4 or 3, now additional 4 settlements. Some of those settlements that Brandon mentioned are, one settlement may have Tevia, Elgeron, CVS. They're each providing us a small check as part of that settlement. And so yes, originally we were talking about 1.9, you've opted in, and so there's going to be additional dollars above that.
Yeah, and I guess I would like the board to be updated on what our options are for the use of those funds.
We'll do that.
All right. All right, anything else, Kathy? I think you've completed your review of your budget. Any other questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right. Next we have scheduled our committee reports. Commissioner Ebinger, would you care to start today?
Sure. On last Tuesday, on the 5th, I went to the night-to-night burger cook-off, and congratulations to Sheriff Empting for winning the trophy for us this year. Most of the night-to-night activities were canceled due to weather later that day, but there was a good turnout at the burger cook-off, and it was nice to keep the trophy in Moorhead. Thursday, the 7th, I attended the Red River Structure River Rerouting event. It's a misnomer. When reality set in, with the heavy rains we've had, it actually blew the plug out of the dike, so we had the river already rerouted when we got there. But there was a good turnout of people, a lot of people that have been involved in the diversion since the start. We had Colonel Chase from the St. Paul District of the Corps of Engineers, who kind of emceed the entire operation. Senator Klobuchar, Hoven, and Smith were there. It was just a good celebration for this major milestone in the diversion project. And that completes my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last Tuesday, I attended the Highway Tracking Committee. We had an update on the construction projects that are going on. They're talking about the bridge replacement down by the Comstock Trap Club, and had an update on the 5-year plan that will be coming forward in September, I believe. On Wednesday, I had the opportunity to attend a meeting with our administrator and Commissioner Bear with Elderon, a business in Hawley that is a vibrant business that is 2 miles away from the border cities legislation component that we talked about, but talked about their interest in a substantial addition to the facility and a potential tax abatement to bring forward as a request to this board. Appreciate them really being part of a dialogue to figure out what the best avenue is for them moving forward. Thursday, I attended the AMC webinar on understanding the federal changes to Medicaid benefits, particularly for Minnesota counties. I appreciate that we had the Minnesota Medicaid Director and DHS part of the dialogue and presentation. Yesterday, I attended the AMC Research Committee meeting. We talked about the projects for presentations to the counties at our upcoming conferences. And I believe, I also worked with Justin a little bit. We were experiencing, it's an interesting year, we're experiencing some sloughing on some county roads, particularly along some of the more steep drainage ditches throughout the county. And so gave him put on his radar a couple areas that were of a challenge. So I know they're working with the watershed on those, but they did go out and I saw they repaired at least that one. So I appreciate them doing that. That concludes my report.
Commissioner Bear.
On Tuesday night, the 5th, I went to Unite in Glendon and Hawley. They still had them with the weather being the way it was. It was a very good turnout in both locations. And then Wednesday, the 6th, I was also at the Elderon meeting where Commissioner Mojo already explained what happened there. Elderon's just trying to figure it out to make it the best possible outcome for them to expand. And then on Monday, the 11th, last night, myself and the group from West Regional Water District with Kevin Campbell gave a presentation to the city of Hitterdal to talk about the rural water district that's coming to the area, and we gave them an MOU to look at to see if they want to be on board with that group. And that is all of my meetings I had.
Very good. All right, on August 5th, I also had the Highway Tracking Committee meeting that Commissioner Moser reported on. We did get an update on the status of a couple of right-of-way issues regarding the Highway 52 project. And as was mentioned, I'm hopeful to bring the 5-year plan to the Highway Committee in September, which then will come before this board a short time thereafter. There was a dust control issue that was talked about in Elmwood Township as a result of the diversion inlet structure Red River reroute. And I think Commissioner Mojo talked about the rest. There was a motor grader position that was open, and there was 5 applicants, and they were interviewing for those, and I don't know the result of that. But, and then I also, we did have let's see. Never mind. I thought we had an insurance meeting too, but I think I already reported on that, if I'm not mistaken. And then last night, as Commissioner Bear mentioned, I did also attend the meeting in Hitterdal, the presentation of our West Central Regional Water System to them. And it was fairly new information to them, and there was some good dialogue that went on. So that concludes my report. Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last Tuesday, participated in the highway tracking. That's been well covered. Also participated in insurance committee meeting that you're highlighting. Hearing more about the potential RFP information. On the 6th, department head evaluation. On the 6th, also participated in the Elderon discussion. It was really very interesting to hear all of the intricate work that they do and how really have a niche, not just in our county, but really across the United States and world. So on the 6th, met with Dan, Mr. LaPointe, and Peyton Mastera, talking about White Earth Nation. Again, White Earth Nation is waiting back for some surveys and has started some additional studies. We're going to be meeting again we meet on a weekly basis internally from a Clay County standpoint. We're going to be meeting with the White Earth Nation again right after Labor Day. And hopefully at that point, they'll have some additional information on those surveys and studies. On the 6th, had a meeting with Brandon Lunick of Moorhead Public Schools. We talked a series of shared issues. Also talked about with their referendum coming this fall that this board in the past has offered the school district an opportunity to present before you, and so extended that offer. On the 7th, participated in the reroute that's been covered of the diversion on the Red River. On the 7th, met with Darren on a series of Clay County issues. On the 8th, again, submitted the Purdue settlement, the opt-in. Again, we won't know that number, what that first payment will be. I believe this by December of this year, but also that will be an addition. On the 8th, participated in a MACA district meeting. Again, we spent a significant amount of our time talking about budgets, the law changes that will have implemented and impacted both operations and our budgeting. And then yesterday, we met with Quinn for his pre-budget meeting, which will be here in a couple weeks, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Brian. Darren?
On the 5th, I also attended the insurance committee meeting, so that's already been covered. And then we had a meeting after that. On the 6th, I went to the MPELRA conference, which is the Minnesota Public Employee Labor Relations Association conference. That was virtual. That was on the 6th and 7th. Also on the 6th, I had a meeting with Corey to discuss some resource recovery stuff and the contract with Moorhead. And on the 8th and 11th, I was on vacation.
Sarah? All right. Just going back to the insurance committee that was on August 5th, I just want to point out that our insurance committee is meeting multiple times this month. I think we have scheduled 2 more meetings this month, and the whole idea in mind is to ultimately pick what options we want to have. I know that Anna is really, she finds it important that we can kind of come to that decision by the first part of September because of the 90 days that's needed for open enrollment. So and once we make that determination, we will be better able to plug in a true health insurance number within our budget. So hopefully we'll have that by sometime very early in September. And that's all we have today. We will stand adjourned. Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. We do. I'm used to committee reports being last. All right. We have a closed session for County Administrator's Annual Evaluation.
Current county administrator.
Mr. Chair, I'll offer a motion to go into closed session.
Second.
A motion and a second by Commissioner Rebinger. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. We are in closed session. All right, we are now back in open session, and as we were just in closed session doing an annual evaluation on our county administrator, and on behalf of the board, I am happy to announce that Steve passed with flying colors. I think everything that we heard from the board is that he exceeds expectations to exceptional work. And we're all thankful that Steve is part of our team and, as a matter of fact, leads our team. We're very, very impressed. And with that, it's our understanding that Steve was up for a step increase this year. Commissioner Ebringer?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would like to approve the anniversary adjustment, the step adjustment for Steve Larson for next year, or for his anniversary date.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept that. And of course, that has already been included in our preliminary budget information that Lori has provided for us for administration. Any further discussion? Yes, Commissioner Mojo.
I think just for the record to show, Commissioner Kravinoff had a medical appointment and so was able to, alone in a room, participate virtually throughout the review as well. So that's, your comments reflect the unanimous, reflection of all 5 of us.
That is correct. Any further discussion? Steve, any discussion?
I just want to thank the board for their comments today. I'm so excited to be part of the team that we have. It starts with the leadership in this room, and all of the department heads, but several of them that are waiting outside to get on to our next business. I'm fortunate to work with just a great team, so thank you very much.
All right, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried, and now that concludes our business for today. We are adjourned.